equipment, of animals, of anything on any lot on an unimproved road in the city. Would that be your general understanding of the gist of our zoning ordinance as it relates to that issue?
When I did the submission to the Estell Manor Quarterly, they said, please contact me if you have any questions. I defer to Mr. DeLucre because I, of course, do not know the zoning code. That's wasn't the focus of my effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just so I'm clear, we're talking about if there's a prohibition against developing on a lot which is not fronted by an improved road?
That's
or are we
correct.
talking about building? Oh, okay, it's not about building within the actual bed of the paper street.
Mr. DeLucre, to the best of my knowledge, I happen to know that there is no ordinance that's on the city books that allows you to do any development of any property that is not an improved road. Period.
Okay, and I'm not aware of anything to the contrary, so.
Right, that's obvious that we've had that there in place for as long as I've ever remembered being on city council. And
Can
I don't see any time that it's gonna change. As a matter of fact, I'll probably get a little bit more stringent.
Excuse me, though, I do have to make a comment. It also pertains to that animal discussion about the cats. If there needs to be a change in any ordinance, and that cat conversation would be possibly a change in the animal ordinance that we're presenting tonight. But you do have a city code committee. I believe it's Mr. Olson and Mr. Olson and Mrs. Owen that are charged with the preliminary review of these things. So if someone sees a need to make a change, they can go through that code committee who would research it and present to the full council, get input from people like you did tonight, but it starts with the code committee. It doesn't,
Know that, and I know all that, and the code book always has room for an amendment. It's
Right.
not written in stone that that's gonna be it forever and ever. We could amend it next month. We don't know. We could always add another ordinance on next month.
But what I'm saying is it's best to be researched first by the people responsible and then brought forward from there. I hope you realize I'm not going to be involved in this anymore, so I did want to say something to that effect, that it works best when you have a system and Mr. DeLucre and Mr. Lafferty also have access to good information about sample ordinances and so forth. So there's a way to get those changes, and even if there is a concern about the zoning ordinance, there's ways to do it thoroughly and with your code committee.
And if I may supplement, Mayor, this matter was referred pursuant to NJSA 40:55D26 to Planning Board. And on March 17th, 2021, the Planning Board reviewed the proposed codification as it impacted upon the master plan and the development regulations of the city. And they issued a resolution 44-2021 indicating that they have reviewed the ordinance, that the ordinance affects a comprehensive revision and codification of the Estell Manor Code, including certain provisions of the city's land use code and regulations. And now therefore be it resolved that ordinance 1-2021 is hereby viewed and approved by the Estell Manor Planning Board pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-26.
Seeing no further comments.
I suppose I've been preempted by that conversation in the middle of my comment?
We've already had,
Am I to understand then that
Dawson, you've
as
already
it
had
relates to
45
the
minutes.
development issues, Mr. Rafferty, that the decision has been made by the planning board? But they do note that there were some changes.
The municipal land use law requires that any ordinance that affects development regulations, be it a zoning or otherwise, must be submitted to the planning board for review, and for them to
Thank you.
plan in allowing or approving of those amendments. So it's a chance for your specialized board to comment to city council as to any concerns that they have. They did not express any concerns. They felt that it was consistent with your master plan and with your other development regulations, and they therefore approved of the codified code. What this code does, and I don't mean to step on Mrs. Casagran's toes here, but what this committee did was spend months trying to collate years of ad hoc regulations in your ordinances into a uniform code, and they worked with general code in doing that. And Mr. DeLucre was immensely helpful in helping that process along. And so at the end of the day, it's not so much that there were any substantial changes that were made, but it was rather a recodification of a bunch of ad hoc ordinances that you folks had adopted over years, so that it makes it an intelligible document. And I hope I'm articulating that, Mr. Gosson, so that you understand.
Thank you. I was only hoping for a sense, having poured themselves over this document for those hours, and I got my answer. I don't need to belabor it any further.
No, I mean, the problem is that as time goes by and a municipality adopts ordinances, it sort of becomes disjointed. And what this committee did was, with their labor, they made it into a comprehensive book. So chapter 24 isn't in front of chapter 2. So they essentially restructured the code so that it's more user-friendly for the public. And that's what this is really all about. And Mrs. Casagran, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
It is 600 pages.
Randy, can we move this
600
along?
pages.
We're just, this is really, we have a very long agenda here in front of us yet. We're not gonna get through it all.
All of this illustrates the conflict of interest that's been there from the beginning. I was interrupted from the get-go in my
Mr.
public
Poe,
comment.
You're out of order.
You interrupted me from the get-go.
You're out
I
of
never got
order.
the public comment.
Mr. Pope, you're out of order. One more time.
Okay.
I'm asking
And you're in a
Clifford
conflict
to-
here.
Randy, he's out of order. I've asked him 3 times.
Mrs.
What do we do?
Casagraham?
Block him.
So I have a question. So the second reading, so can you explain to us what the process is? It went to the first reading. It's now for the second reading. And what's the next step? So everybody would know about this.
I think Mr. DeLucre would be the one to answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, thank
Sure.
you, yes.
Thanks. Assuming it is adopted tonight, then 2 things will happen after that. One is that the adopted ordinance gets sent back to general code, and they'll provide us with the hard copies, the bound copies that will be kept in the clerk's office. Bigger step, although in this case I don't think substantively it amounts to much, is that it has to go to Pinelands. Pinelands does its review to make the determination whether the new code, to the extent that there are any changes made to the land use or forestry or other provisions that Pinelands cares about, they determine whether or not any substantial issue, it's the term of art they use, has been presented. If they determine that there's no substantial issue presented by any of the new language or new terms we have in there, they approve it administratively, probably within 30 to 60 days. They advise us of that, and then it becomes final as to those provisions. The other provisions, those that are not within the jurisdiction of Pinelands, are effective like any other ordinance after adoption.
We need to move this meeting along.
Is there any downside, or is there a problem if we hold the vote for this, or a vote to table this till next month?
We'd have to re-advertise it again.
Why would
Yeah,
you do
and-
that?
I'm not sure what the upside would be, I guess.
We'd have to re-advertise it again, too.
Advertise re-advertise what, the meeting?
So we're gonna
The
have
fact
a,
that the ordinance is coming up for a
well,
second.
yeah, because we didn't take no action, so now you gotta advertise it again.
Okay,
And that's why I put in the quarterly for people to get in touch with me if they had questions. That's why I have, offered to answer any questions for months. So that's why I was hoping we would be done with it now.
Is this the final vote, or will there be one more?
No, this would be the final vote.
I'd make a motion to table, to, stop the discussion on this here, and let's move forward to, vote on it. Is there a second? To end the discussion? We've discussed this for way too long, and we have so much more important business we gotta take care of. Some of it's mandatory, we've gotta get it out tonight. Mandatory. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Think anybody else?
All in favor?
Aye.
There's no other members of the public that want to speak, Mayor.
There are no more.
There are no more. We need a motion to close the public
There was,
hearing.
there was a motion, there was a second. I just didn't use the right verbiage, I said to end the discussion. I make a motion to end the public portion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Somebody make a motion to adopt.
I'll make the motion to adopt the revision and codification of the city ordinances.
Someone make a second. Somebody has to make a second. Nobody wants to make a second. I will make a second. Roll call if there's no further discussion.
Mr. Dilge,
Whose motion is this?
Matt,
Mr. Olson's.
Oh, okay.
so
This is to adopt the code in its current form as submitted.
so
Correct.
so I withdraw my second. I would really appreciate if somebody would just make a second so we can move this along, please.
You're withdrawing your second, Mayor?
Yes, I am. Somebody really should be making the second. I didn't want to make it, but we need to move this meeting along.
Let me explain. If there's no second, then this ordinance fails.
Does council want this ordinance to
I
fail
really
tonight?
can't believe this.
Does council want this to fail tonight? I mean, I don't believe it
Really
either.
can't believe this. What is the matter with the city council?
second,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dilge,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
yes,
Mayor Benesia.
I abstain from any and all portions of the forestry portion of this recode, but a yes to all the rest. Motion carries unanimous. With my abstention to the forestry practice.
All right, Mr. Mayor, on the Pinelands for their review and comment.
All right, so the Pinelands, we'll send it over to them. We need to move along here. There's a couple things we absolutely have to get out tonight. And one of them is the court report.
Yeah, excuse me, Mayor, we gotta do the public hearing, second reading on the budget cap.
That's a simple one. I'll make the necessary motion to introduce ordinance number 2-2021. Is there a second?
We have, you're opening it for a public hearing then.
We have to open it to public hearing, Mayor.
All right, make a motion to open a meeting to the public specifically for this budget cap.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing and hearing none, motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If there's no further discussion, Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Dilch,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Miss Owen? Miss Owen?
Yes, sorry, I was on,
Mayor Vinesia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving down, we have one very important thing here. We have to discuss, resolution 50-21 first and foremost, the consolidation of the court. I want it to be known that I have spent many, many months. I am on the subcommittee. I believe I've offered some rather very positive input to the committee as well, and as well to Mr. Ferguson, who is the county counsel. The city is about to save 75% by moving forward with the court. The county is needing to get a resolution of support, whether we're going to agree to go into a shared service with them or not. This is not the contractual portion yet. This is just simply agreeing that we want to move forward. We are currently paying $25,000 a year for the court. That is our cost. The county is proposing that they're gonna charge us $6,100. I think you should have all received that correspondence. This is in fact a no-brainer. We will also be allowed to keep all of the court costs, the $38 or $36, which one is it, Randy? 36 or 38?
I'm sorry, what was that?
are we on resolution 50? We're going
Yes.
out, not out of order? Why are
We're
we not
going out of
going in
order.
order?
We're running out of time, so we're gonna go out of order with the resolutions. Randy, what's the court cost, per case? Is it 38 or 36?
Oh, I don't have that
All right,
information.
regardless, we keep the court costs and we keep any and all of the ordinance monies. If there's anything that's done by the sheriff's department, we will keep 50% of those fines. We stand to probably have a cost to the city somewhere around $3,000, and without doubt, definitely perhaps less. This is where we are right now. We're currently paying $25,000, although I never understood how Weymouth Township is only paying $4,500. Never made any sense to me because I don't see how they pay 25% when we pay the other 75. But that's one of the reasons why I think it's really imperative we need to get out of this agreement with what we have. And quite frankly, there are at least 13 towns that I am aware of. Every single town, bar none, is going to be saving a very significant amount of money. The more towns that become involved with this process, the cheaper that our cost is going to be in the end. So we are anticipating and hoping that will be more towns that will join in with this. But with that being said, I would truly love to be able to introduce Resolution 50-2021 to consolidate the court with the county. Is there a second?
Second,
I think we need a roll call on this one here. Or first, before we do a roll call, is there any discussions?
no,
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment or two, or ask a question or two. This has been a very contentious meeting. I would hope that from here forward, we could keep the peace better than we have it. It's especially become heated recently, but there are a lot of contentious items. There are a lot of contentious items on the menu tonight. Mayor, we asked you a couple of months ago to please keep us apprised of what was going on with this effort, with what you brought away from meetings and any reports that you received, et cetera. You said then that you would copy council
Well, to the best of
on
my
those
knowledge,
things.
Mr.
Now, I'm not
Dillon,
finished speaking, please.
the county has sent that over. The county has been sending it over.
No, Mayor, what I've received and what others on council have received have been the product of elected officials in other towns, including us on things, not the court, not the clerk, and not you. You said you would do it. Now, you've been a member of some committee of which I was entirely unaware, which did work of which I have absolutely no familiarity. And it sounds like because you need to be able to go back to your committee with an affirmative vote, you're rushing us, 7 items forward in the agenda to make sure that you get this done tonight to meet your need for your subcommittee. These are the kinds of things that are caustic to us. These are the kinds of poor leadership decisions that make these meetings go
Mr.
off the
Dill,
rails.
you can keep your opinions to yourself. Let's just simply focus on, are we gonna support this resolution or not? You just said moments ago, can we keep this under the heat range? And what are you doing? You're turning up the heat with your personal attacks. There's a motion that's on the floor and there's a second. Roll call, please.
All right, then I will vote no because I
Very
haven't
good, then
seen a
vote no.
report from the mayor or from anyone else that addresses
Mr.
this
Lafferty,
matter
did you
in a
not send over
valid
that
way.
information?
And we can take this vote again at the next meeting after we've been properly informed in keeping with your word several months ago. I
Mr.
will vote
Lafferty,
no.
did you send this information over to the members of council because you were in receipt of it?
Mayor, I received this 2 days ago, and I wasn't instructed to distribute it. That's not my role.
Didn't you get that from Jim Ferguson?
I got from Jim Ferguson the
You sent
resolution.
it to me. Why didn't you send it to the rest of the council?
Because that's
Copy
your
of the agreement is
responsibility.
not what I'm talking about.
I'm not the secretary to this board here, guys. My goodness. There's a motion, there's a second. Let's have a roll call on it, please.
Mr. Dilge,
No.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Miss Owen,
I have been informed of some of the phone calls, so my vote is yes.
Mayor Vinesia.
Yes. Moving down the line here, we have,
Mayor, as we move forward, as this
Mr.
effort
Phil, you're
continues,
interrupting the
please
attorney.
keep council informed.
Thank you.
Will you do that?
Mr. Dilge,
Will
I
you
hate to-
do that? Yes or
I
no?
hate to tell, Mr. Dilge, I hate to tell you, but if you take a look at this right here, this is a phone. When was the last time you ever called me? I've called you several times, you
I
never
don't
returned
call
my
you.
call.
I'm not going to call you. I haven't called you in a year, and you know that I'm not going to call you. We've had this discussion too many times.
Well, then.
You get documents
then you can
ahead of
stand
and
by.
behind every one of those meetings that you could
Then
be
you can-
forwarding to us, and you don't do it.
Then you can stay
Are
in
you
the dark.
going to do it?
You can stay in the dark if that's what you're choosing to do. You said you're not gonna call me, Nelson, so what do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you? It's your decision,
There'll
not
be
mine. I
no
wanna
more
talk to-
personal one-on-one
I wanna talk to
conversations
you about
between
city
you and I,
issues and
Mayor.
you
Your
refuse-
memory is too short.
I wanna talk to you, your temper's too short. I wanna talk to you about city issues and you wanna get into a dogfight. Okay? Not moving down the line here, we have other issues that we gotta take care of. We have the, snowplow. We have the pavers, we have the sweeper, and we have the bucket truck that has been on hold since February the 3rd. I'm not sure how that got placed on hold, but Jeff, has counted the pavers. He put together some kind of reports. I believe that that's been sent to the council, because when he sends something to me, it gets sent to everybody. I think we received something from Teresa months ago that those pavers have some type of a residual value of $2.50 to $3 a piece. We have 8 pallets of them with approximately 200 bricks on it per pallet. I'm proposing we just simply sell them for a buck a brick. I think that would be a fair deal for anybody that's looking to get that many pavers. They're saving money. None of them bricks are busted up or anything like that.
Mr. Mayor, I'm unaware of any kind of email that we got with values on any of these items.
I think that's just the only recent one is the bricks, and we also got that from Teresa months ago. We got that
No,
month.
we
Yes,
never
all
made-
got it. Teresa gave it to all of us. I remember the CC. It was mayor and council.
Not with a figure on it, no.
Yeah, she sent a printout of the company that sold these bricks that we have, and she showed what the residual value is. It's months ago. Maybe you don't remember. I don't remember everything from months ago either, but we already received all this stuff.
I apologize if my memory is failing me, but I did not get an email with any of these amounts on them.
So is it best that we just simply table this yet again?
Well, it was tabled last month because we didn't have amounts.
The sweeper has been included in on it. You know what, let's table this, okay? And I'll have the numbers, I'll have Mr. Cornu send us the report, make sure that we're all included in on it. I'm gonna table resolution 36. Judd, have that for the next meeting, please. Resolution number 34. What are we doing with this dump truck? Is that a stainless steel body?
No,
Why are we not getting a stainless steel body?
it's $7,000 more.
So we're getting a gasoline rather than a diesel, so we're saving it. It's a wash. It's the city's best interest to have a stainless steel body. Look at the two trucks that we have out there now.
Other towns are buying steel, Joe. Stainless steel generally you see with the county, but other towns are buying steel. I work with 2 other towns and they're all steel. If you wash them out, they'll last.
But we don't have a wash thing over here, and they don't necessarily get washed in time.
Got a garden hose?
We're not allowed to do that, Judd. The DEP says we are prohibited by law from doing that.
It's a car wash, but steel it will last if you take care of it. But I'm just telling you what other towns are doing. I'm trying to
The
keep
trucks that we have are
Oh,
10 years old and 20 years old or something like that. Those steel bodies lasted long enough.
Yeah,
And they're all rotted out, Mr. Dilge, terribly rotted.
But they've
One
still
is so
lasted for
rotted.
10 years and 20 years.
The one is so rotted, it's literally unsafe to drive, in my opinion. The frame is all shot out.
all I can tell you is that, Mr. Cornell and myself had a discussion on this truck with the state contract, person from, Winter Ford up in Cherry Hill. And we went over every single item that we thought should be on it. And it's a bare bones truck. I mean, there's not, a lot of extra stuff on it. It's just a basic truck with what we need. I sent the specs out to you.
Comes with a salt dog and a,
No,
plow.
we're not buying it off of them because they wanted almost $6,000 to $7,000. I can buy it from a place that I just bought one in Franklin Township for about $5,700. So we can buy that once we get the truck here. So I'm saving over probably $1,000 compared to what the state contract was selling it. They were selling a Western. This is a salt dog manufacturer. So there it is.
We need a, does it come
We
with,
have put this out to you, and we got the best price that we could possibly be with the options we have. I believe it's 57,000 and change.
does it come
And
with
that's
a,
on state contract. We can go ahead and you can order it tomorrow if you want to.
I can order it tomorrow.
and what's the deposit amount required?
There's no deposit, just need purchase order to hold it.
I make a motion that we act to purchase a truck from the state program in keeping with what Mr. Moore just outlined. I get a
Second.
second, please?
Second.
Can we make an amendment to have that as a stainless steel bed?
Don't have the funds available.
We don't have the funds available to buy this thing here either. I mean, we're gonna finance this, aren't we? We're not gonna pay.
We're not financing it, we're gonna buy it
No,
outright.
we have the money.
Why don't we do the lease purchase and pay $15,000 a year?
Why-
Because that is not the plan that we formulated 2 years ago when we decided to go down this road. We charged Mr. Moore with saving the money out of surplus to be able to pay cash for a truck 3 seasons from 2 years ago because of the condition of our trucks and what we saw as future need. Mr. Moore has done a fine job through his stewardship to set the money aside. We're prepared to pay cash for the truck and not have any payments, not have any further consideration about a brand new truck, and it'll be here in time for the next winter season. We
So
have
I'm
an
not really-
obligation, I think,
I must really-
to see it to finish, to get the ball across the finish line.
So, you know something, that's one of the beauties of living in Estell Manor. We're the only ones that are right and everybody else is wrong. Because quite frankly, the county, they lease purchase. They do it over a 5-year period. We don't feel the realized impact of spending $55,000, $60,000, $70,000. We do it over a 5-year period and we very comfortably could move forward and not deplete our capital account. And there's no difference. We're far better off to do a lease purchase. This is what the county's been doing for 30 years. And Dennis Levinson is correct. He's exactly correct with the method of how he does it. And tell me that the man is wrong. We are dead wrong by doing it in simply a straight out cash purchase. We're not like what we were 10 years ago, financially speaking. We've had a tremendous impact with our revenue source as it relates to pilot funding. We're stupid to do a cash out process. You lease purchase it. You budget over a 5-year period. Why would you not want to do that?
Because you're paying interest, paperwork. Every town I know buys it off state contract if they can, and they pay for it outright.
Why is the county wrong with doing what they're doing
I don't know
then,
what the
Judge?
county does, but I'm gonna find out.
They do a lease
We're gonna
purchase.
vote this?
Yes. It's been a motion and a second.
and I make a friendly amendment to the motion that this is gonna be done to a lease purchase.
Are you making a motion?
Not our plan, it's been our plan to pay for it. We set the money aside, we're prepared to.
It's
finish
not,
the-
it's not prudent, Mr. Dilge. It's not the prudent thing to do. We need to keep as much money around as we can, and this here is a much better option to just simply lease purchase it. And then when you come, after the conclusion of the 5-year purchase, then you pay $1 to get the title.
So there's an amendment.
You don't
Dilge,
go wrong with that.
Mr. Dilge, do you accept that amendment?
No.
Okay, then the
Does
question.
anybody else accept the amendment? I mean, my God, guys, we don't have a whole lot of money. We can't just simply expend out $60,000.